All right. We are live and welcome to this Google for Education webinar all about Google Sites, creating a central hub for home learning. My name is James Leonard from the Google for Education team, and I'm joined by some fantastic colleagues here, Darren and Katie from EdTech Team UK, who will be doing some of the hands-on with Google Sites. And then also by the wonderful educators from the Bentley Foundation Federation, Dawn and Darren, who will be telling you a little bit about their own journey with Google Sites. So thank you again for joining. We're going to go ahead and get right into it, as I know you all are ready to see Sites in action, and just give you a little bit of an overview of how we will be rolling through this webinar. So first, I'll just do a brief overview of Google for Education and of some of the resources we have available to schools during school closures and beyond. We'll then pass it over to our wonderful Google trainers to get hands-on with Google Sites, and then come back and hear from the crew at the Bentley Federation before wrapping it up with some questions and answers. Please feel free to use the YouTube chat if you are eager to get questions answered in real time. I know I've seen some of you on there already. And if you want to jot down any questions so you don't forget them, to save them for the end, please feel free to do that as well. So many of you will be familiar with Google for Education. If you're not, I'll give you a brief 20-second overview. It's a suite of tools, productivity suite, devices, and content. Many of those tools are and have been key as schools have moved into a remote learning environment, particularly tools like Google Classroom, Google Sites, Google Forms, the Chrome browser, etc. What makes these so useful? Well, they're easy, they're flexible, they're built for collaboration in the web by design, and they're secure. Now, as schools have rapidly moved towards an online delivery, in some cases over the last 8 weeks or so, we've developed some resources to support schools on their journey. And if you haven't seen this already, I'd recommend checking it out. The Teach from Home Hub, if you just search Teach from Home Google, you'll get there, is a temporary hub of information about teaching and learning with Google tools during school closures. So it has some general guidance about how to set up a live stream, or the best place in your house perhaps for video calling. But it also has digestible trainings on some of our main tools like Google Classroom and Google Forms for everyday use. So if you're just getting started with the tools and you don't see everything that you want in our webinars, you can go to Teach from Home and get some nice guidance there. It's also useful to know a couple of the other resources that we've been populating throughout the COVID-19 crisis with support for UK educators. There's some general information about how-tos, setting up Chromebooks for distance learning, tips, tricks, etc. on our central Google for Education COVID resource page. You'll see that linked here, g.co/edu/COVID-19. There are also new distance learning resources and actually a course on the Teacher Center, which you can get to at g.co Teacher Center. And finally, we have a number of webinars that we've been hosting really for the last 8 weeks or so, and we'll continue to do throughout May, addressing every single G Suite application and more, available on our webinar page, bit.ly/GFE webinars, GFE UK webinars, which is likely how you got to this webinar. So you're probably familiar with that, but I invite you to peruse any of the past webinars that we've hosted on a variety of different topics. The Teacher Center has actually just gotten a bit of a UI, a user interface change, and it should be easier now to find some of the bite-sized training that your colleagues or you might be craving on Google Classroom, Sites, Docs, Forms, Expeditions, Jamboard, the list goes on. So please do go ahead and check out the new Teacher Center and take not only a look at our broader certification pathways, but also some of these new bite-sized kind of first day trainings on some of the key applications. And if you've come to this webinar thinking about going Google, and you're a UK school, a state-funded school in England, you'll also probably be aware of a program from the Department for Education to get funding for your G Suite deployment or your Office 365 deployment. If you watch this webinar and decide you want to go the other way, this has been a program that's been in place since early, since early May, and is facilitated by Google and Microsoft's network of education partners who will do all the hard work of provisioning your users and setting security policies and syncing classroom classes as a part of this government program, and in an effort to make sure that all schools in England have a digital platform in place to be able to not only deliver learning during school closures, but also gain all the benefits that we know exist from digital platforms beyond school closures. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more, I invite you to go to a digital platform hub, which is hosted on The Key. Many of you will know The Key, a great resource for head teachers and school leaders. They have all sorts of information, FAQs, and documentation about the Department for Education's platform program. So if you're completely new to Google, or you know a school that has been looking for a way to get set up and get deployed, please feel free to direct them to covid19.thekeysupport.com. So those are the quick bits from the Google side. Thank you again for coming. I'm going to turn it over to the experts at EdTech Team, our Google certified trainers, and they're going to take it away with some hands-on with Google Sites.
Thanks very much, James. So I'm Darren. I'm going to take you through how to get started with sites to begin with, and then Katie's going to come on and give you a bit more examples around those. So first of all, to get to sites, there's a range of different ways to do it. So you can just type in sites.google.com. You can go to it straight from your Drive. So if you're in Drive and you want to go down to New, you've got some options in More, and then you go straight to Google Sites. Or you can get through it on the app launcher as well. So if you've got the Google app launcher, you can click on Sites and it will then take you to this homepage here. There is one final way you can do it as well. So if you just want to make a new site, you can type in your search bar sites.new, and that's going to generate a brand new site for you as well. So if you just type that in, hit enter, that's going to take you to a brand new site. But let's have a look at it from the main page here. So you'll notice when you first go to sites, you'll have this top section here, which gives you a template gallery. And I can see a bit more details. If I click down on this template gallery, it's going to give me some options that might be helpful for me. So education comes first if you've got a Google for Education site, and you've got some templates that you can use straight away that you can then start adding your content. But then you've got a few other options as well that are down here that might help you as well. But let's go from a brand new one. So let's click on blank site. When you click on blank site, it's going to generate a site for you. And it's going to just give you a front page. So you're going to have a home page, but very little else in there. And that's where we're now going to start to edit our page. Now, Google Sites is really easy to edit. You can only edit it on a browser. So you need to make sure you're on a computer if you do want to edit a site. There is no mobile app or app for sites at the moment. And if I want to edit anything in here, I just click my mouse, I'll hover it over something, and you'll notice it changes with this box around it. So let's give this site a name. Rather than your page title, let's go for my class. I'm sure you can come up with a more original title than that for here. You'll notice everything in sites as well is customizable. So I can change the image at the background here. So I've got this option here to go change image, and I can either upload an image if I've got one, or I can select an image from a range of templates that are already available for me in the gallery. I really like this Post-it note one, so I'm going to go for this Post-it note one and click select on those. Now, when I select those, you'll notice down here it's got adjusting for readability. Now, this is really important just to help people to be able to view your content so it's not clashing. So it's now going to adjust the sort of background colors and make sure everything matches. There we go. So it's lighten the background image and turn my text into black to make it the best for readability. So it does that automatically. So it doesn't matter what image I select, it will then change that for me. I can reset that as well if I want to and go through those. Okay, on the right-hand side here, you'll notice there's a range of different options of stuff that we could insert into our page. And I'll go through the options onto those. But if I just want to edit something directly on this page, I can double click anywhere. So let's just double click. And it's going to give me a range of different options. So I've got straight away some text boxes. I can grab something from my Drive. I can upload something that I've got on my computer. I could add an image, or I could get an embed code. So you'll notice they're the same options that I have over on the right-hand side, but I just find it quite easy. If you just double click anywhere on your site, it will bring up this menu. So let's go for a text box here. And let's say I want this to welcome if I can spell, welcome to my class website, whatever I'd then call it. Now, there's a few options of the type of text that we're using. So you'll notice here, it's just giving me normal text. Let's say I want to have this as a title. I'm just going to drop this normal text down, and then I've got my option for a title, heading, subheading, or a small option. So let's go for a title. So welcome to my class website. Let's say I want to emphasize that. So it's just got a white background at the moment. I want to emphasize those. And you'll notice I've got this section areas down the side here. So I can duplicate this section if I want to, or I could delete it. But I've got this one to add a background. So let's just go on to background, and I can emphasize this particular point, and it's then just going to give it a bit more bolder, a bit more easier to then see. So I can obviously add text boxes. Let's add another text box just under here and just say class information. And I can readjust any of these pages. Now you'll notice you've got kind of adjustment tabs on pretty much everything that you use within Google Sites. And I can make this bigger or smaller. And you'll notice as I make this bigger and smaller, I've got these guidelines to just help me to guide my site. So it's really quick to just drag and drop and move things around. So I've just put my class information, let go of those, and it's going to fit within that box. Okay, let's have a look at some other options that we've got in here. Let's say I want to add an image. So I can upload an image, or I could select one. So let's go and select one. And I can use straight in here Google image search, or if I've got photos or stuff on my drive that I could then use. And let's just go for classroom, for instance. Let's find a quick image of a classroom just to drop in here. There we go. Let's pretend this is my classroom. And you'll notice it just drops it into the next section. But actually, I want it to be sat next to this class information. So I'm going to drag it and place it next to that class information. And you'll notice now it's in the same section as those. Okay, so I can see I've got a text box here. I've got my image, and I can also add another text box. So if I double click, put some more text box below this, here is the info. And I could then add those information onto those. I can move any of these around as well. So if I say, okay, I actually want to have my class photo to the side, it will then update and change all the information for me. All I'm doing is just drag and dropping and placing it where I want it to go. Okay, so I do have some options of different layouts. So if I've got a particular layout in mind, and you can see I've got a few options here. Let's say if I want to have this option here, I can just drag and drop it into my slides, and then it's going to give me a few options of where I could edit the text straight away, or I can maybe add particular content from my drive, maybe even a YouTube video or calendar within those. So I do have some layout options that I could use, but let's say if I wanted to delete anything, I can just hit the delete section. That's then going to delete those. There's a few extra options down the side here of stuff that I could insert that might be helpful. So collapsible text is a really interesting thing to add. So this is where you would have sort of a heading. So this is a heading. And then this bit underneath is what would then appear if a user opened up that text. So this is hidden unless clicked on. And I'll just click off that. And you'll notice that text now has disappeared. So I'm only going to see this is a heading, and a user would need to click on that box to then reveal that text that goes below there. So it gives me those options to have those collectible texts. I can also add a cable of contents, and now I've got image carousel as well. So let's say actually, rather than having just one classroom here, I want to have an image carousel. So I'm just going to insert my image carousel. It's then going to ask me to select some images. So let's go and select some images from Google, for instance. Let's do this Google image search. I'll just do classroom once again. I'm going to grab a few images. Let's grab some of these. I'm just going to grab 3, hit insert. And now that's going to create an image carousel for these 3 images that I've selected. And I'm just going to insert that into my Google Slides. Okay, so let's put it down to this end here. I want to move it. So I'm going to click on here and move it up to the top function here, delete this one. And then I'm going to bring that over. So again, I'm just adjusting everything as I go. And then this image will then rotate round those images when I go onto them. So it's like an image carousel already built in. Okay, we can also go straight into YouTube from here as well. So if I click on YouTube, it allows me to search YouTube on here. So let's go for, I'm just going to search something in like learning. That could be anything. Let's imagine that I have actually checked these YouTube videos before I put them in. Here's a lovely song about learning that I want to add in. And I can insert that into my, my site. There's a few other options as well. You notice where you've got the toggle that helps you to do any additional options. And you'll see you've got a few options where you can kind of hide the progress bar. You can change the different color from white or red, or you can allow it to go full screen or not. So you do have a few additional options for any videos that you have within those as well. So that's kind of placed it into my particular class so far. Okay, let's see what that looks like so far. Okay, so I'm going to go and view this. So I've got a preview option at the top here. So I'll click on preview. And this is going to show me the site at the moment, what it would look like on a computer screen. So I can see I've got this information here. I've got my slide carousel, which I can click through, and it's just going to keep on rotating around those 3 images. If I want to open up this text, I can then see what's hidden. And also I can play this video as well within this site. But actually, I know many of my students actually use it on their mobile phones. So let's see what this site looks like on a phone. And it automatically updates the site to fit a mobile phone. I can double check to see what it looks like. So I've still got all the same information. It's just laid it out in a slightly different way, which is more phone friendly. Again, even the drop down elements work as well. So I can see those and I can play any of the videos as well. So it gives me an option to see my site in different views. So either a tablet, a phone, or an actual computer, just to check what that looks like. But it makes all those adjustments for me. So I haven't had to go in there and set, here's a different view for my mobile site and here's a different view for my website. It just automatically does that for me, so it's great. Okay, so there's a few other options where we can grab things from docs, for instance, from Drive, but I won't go through those. They're fairly easy to explain and go through. Let's have a look at pages. So I can add different pages to my site. At the moment, I've just got one page. So I've just got my home page. So let's add a new page and call this page, let's go for class, I can't think of a page off the top of my head. Class assignments. Let's go for that. There we go. And click on done on those. And you'll now notice I've now got along the top here, I've got my home page and I've already got my class assignments, which has named it class assignments in here. And again, I can then insert any information that goes into this option. Let's just go back to my home page. Let's say I want to put maybe a button in here that someone could press onto to go to the assignment. So let's go in here and I'm going to say, here's the info for your assignments. And I'm going to add a button below it. So I'm going to go down to my insert options down here and click on button. I'm going to give this a name. So call this assignments. That's the name that it will appear on the button. And then I want to link. Now you'll notice as I click on the link, it's going to show me the pages that I've already got attached to this site. If I've got a particular link that I want to go to, I can copy and paste any link into those. And I'm going to go click on class assignments and hit insert. Now it's dropped it down to the bottom area. I can just literally click and drag this up and place this where I want it to go. Okay, so if someone clicks on that link now, it will then go to the assignments page. Let's just see what that looks like. If I go to preview, I can then click on assignments and that's going to jump straight over to my assignments page. Fantastic. That's exactly kind of what I want it to look like. And I can then start to populate my classroom assignments. The final tab along here is themes. So I can change the theme of this at any point. So if I've kind of made loads of sort of content already, I'm thinking, actually, no, you know what? I would like to go for the level theme. It will then update it and automatically update everything to the level theme for me. I haven't had to do anything else. It's just changed all those settings for me and made it look the way that I want it to be. Let's go back to the simple view. And again, it will just reset itself back to that simple view. Okay, so there's another options along here. You'll notice there's a sort of navigation bar that appears at the top here. Now, if you've got multiple pages, that might get quite confusing for students. So you can then change how they navigate. So you've got the navigation options at the top. So I've just kind of highlighted towards the top here and then got my navigation options. And I can then change where that mode comes from. So I could stick at the moment at the top, but I can also select side. And you'll notice now I've got the kind of three sidebar options, and it's then going to appear on the side. And I can then click on those particular pages. I can also embed other pages within. So if I had class assignments, I could then add a new page onto this, go to my more options. And I could then go add subpage. So I could say Monday or whatever it might be. And that will then sit now under those classed assignments. So when I go to my navigation, I can then see under class assignments, I've got this new subpage for Monday in those. Okay, I can now, once I'm kind of happy with my site, I want to now publish my site. Now, again, everything in Google, it's saved all of those to my drive. So I can go back now to my version history. That's been a fairly recent update to sites as well. Previously, you couldn't go back to your version history, but now you can. And you can then go back to previous versions of your site, which is really helpful. But now I want to go and to publish this site and make it viewable to people within my domain, or maybe I want to make it public. So I'm going to click on publish, and it's then going to give me some options. So I can give this a name. So this is going to be my class, and it needs to be a unique name. So at the moment, that's looking like a unique name. It's allowing me to have that within my domain name here. And this gives me an option of who can actually view this. So this is within my trainer domain. Anybody within my trainer domain can see this particular page. But if I click on manage, I can now set that to say anybody can see that particular page. So I can change it and say, okay, I would like, rather than restricting it, I want to publish that, and I want to publish that publicly. And that means anybody can then see those who's on the internet. They can find that page and then view those. So depending on what type of setting you want to use for your particular page, you can lock it down to your domain. You can also just restrict it to certain people if you want to. I'm going to now hit publish. And now that's going to publish my page publicly. So it's going to be available now for people to access. If I want to see my published page, I can go over to my publish area. I've now got this new drop-down area, and I can then go down to view published site and click on view published site. It's now going to take me to my live page that I've just published. I can then carry on working away at this document on my site and maybe add in some more content. Let's just think maybe I'm going to add a calendar in here. And I can then just go for an English calendar. There we go. Let's insert that into here, for instance. But you'll notice that won't have updated on my site. So if I refresh this site, which has been published, that update won't appear. Okay, so even though it's been saved within the background, you need to make sure you republish that site for that then to appear on the page. So to do that, I would then just click down the drop down, and I've got an option now to review changes and publish. This gives me an option to see what's changed from my current published site to what's in my draft window. So I can then compare the two and go, okay, what's been added? Oh yeah, I've got this calendar that wasn't there before. And once I'm happy what I've got as my draft and what's my currently published, I could then republish those changes if I want to. So it's a great way to see side by side what you've got in draft and then what you've got on your published page. Okay, finally, if I wanted to unpublish this page for whatever reason, I do have that option as well to then unpublish this page. And in the cog setting, it's the last bit that I want to show you. So we've now got a new feature, which is the announcement banner. So obviously there's a range of different reasons why you might have an announcement. It could be that there's a school closure around snow, or as we've currently got, maybe you just want to give them information to those. So I'm going to show my banner. I can change the color. So you've got a range of different colors that I could then use. I'd then put my message. So I'd say, this is my banner. I can then give it a name. So I can have a button that's attached to this banner. So here is a button. And I then need to put a link. So maybe I'd link it to an actual page that I've created within my site. Maybe I'm just going to link it to the class assignments at the moment. But let's say I've created an information on those. And I can say, let's open that on a new tab, or I could leave it within that particular element. And then it says, where do I want it visible? So do I just want it on the home page, or do I want it on all pages? And in my case, I want it on all pages. And this saves automatically. So as soon as I close this down, you're going to then notice to see I've got that announcement at the top of my screen. And if I click on here's my button, it's then going to go to my classroom assignments page in a second when it loads up. There we go. Okay, obviously don't forget to retitle your site. So you don't want loads of untitled sites. So I'm going to just call this my class at the top here and rename those. And then it's updated my class page here as well. So that will then appear. I can also add a logo. So if I do have a logo that I want to appear on my class all the time, I can add those options. But that's how to get going with Google Sites. I'm now going to pass you over to Katie, who's going to show you some more examples about how it's used within education.
Cool, thanks, Darren. Okay, so Darren showed you how to build your site. And I've got some examples of how we've put together some sites. So my first example here is we put it together for our distance learning site for our parents to view. So this is an example of our site. that we've obviously made public so that parents can view it as well. And on here, we've got those buttons that Darren was talking about. We've got the different guides to online learning that we've put together for the children. And because it automatically syncs with Drive and Docs and things, we can just drag in those documents and presentations that we've put together for the children as well. And we've put links to their timetables. And then each week we update this with what our children are meant to be doing each week. We've got quite a full-on timetable still. So on here, we've then been listing. We've got their suggested timetable, which is a doc that's been inserted. And then we've got the information for the parents on each week with links to if there were other letters that we sent out related to it. So we've done that all with just putting in docs from Drive that people have sent through. And if we go back to that homepage, you can see there's that banner that Darren was on about. So each week, if there's a specific part we want the parents to look at, we put in the banner telling them where to look. Okay. Many schools I know have been doing this. I've got another example here. So if it flicks over, yeah. So this school has been, they've been putting on their lessons each week for the children. And because it's so easy to put in YouTube clips and things like that, we've got the link to the video for the children here, and then a link to the resources for the children as well. So it's great to use because, yeah, you can link in anything that you want to. And if you do it, share publicly, then those parents can see and check what their children are meant to be doing. So yeah, and they've got links to other things like educational podcasts on here. So if anyone wants some other things to do with their children, they're on there as well. So that's one of the options of using the Google Sites that's been going around. We've also got our actual school intranet set up on sites as well. So this is one that I've put together. Now our children, we weren't a big user of tech before digital learning started, so they were thrown into it, but they've really taken it on, and we've tried to make it as easy for them as possible here on their site. So all these are little buttons that take them to certain websites, and then there's the button that Darren showed you how to insert if they wanted to change their password as well. But what I wanted to show you on this one was how we've set up our How Do I. So for each of the different sections, we have got a YouTube clip telling the children how to do something and the breakdown, and it's really easy for them to view. They can search through and see which How Do I they want to know how to use, and they can just go through and click on the video as well, and it's just seamless how it integrates in. So this one's obviously not a public site, so not anyone can view this one. It's just the children that we have at school. Another way that you can set up a Google site. So we also, this is an example of sort of using it as a blog and a contact point.
All right, Katie, it looks like we may have lost you. Did we get you back, Katie? Are you with us?
Yeah, I don't
There
know.
we go. Right, problem solved.
Sorry, my pod's just dropped out there. Yeah, so we created a Google site all about that held all the information for the staff for our school trip, not only for the staff but for the parents as well. So you can see on the different tabs up here, we had all the insurance documents, the information about where we were going, and things. And again, any letters that we sent out or presentations we did, we included on the website. So that was before we went. While we were then away, as I said, it acted as a blog. So each day that we were away, we updated, we wrote a little blog for the parents about what we'd been up to, and we uploaded some of our key photos from the day so that parents could stay in contact and they could see what was going on with their children while we were away. And then when we came back, obviously we uploaded, the banner was really useful for that because we could say when we had uploaded the blog for the day. But then when we had come back, we just uploaded all the photos. We were in an area that we couldn't upload all the photos that we took every day. So then we created a folder in Drive. So you can see here we have a button that links to a specific folder on Drive that then has all the photos from the time that we were away, which was perfect for the parents because then obviously the parents can view it and then go into this folder and just get all the photos of their children. So there's some ways that we've sort of used sites, that you could use sites to communicate between staff and parents and things. The other thing that we use it for, that I have an example of, is we get the children to make digital portfolios. So this is an example of Louisa's. She doesn't normally have a picture of herself here and a bit more on her bio. And then ongoing throughout the years that Louisa's been at school, she can add information about or integrate files from her Drive work that she has done. So if I click on English, she has dropped in work that she's done throughout the year that maybe she's particularly proud of. And because it's just so easy to do with everything through Google, she can just bring in what she wants and take out what she wants and write around it. So under her little academic tab, she's created these different pages that hold different work from throughout the years. And she can do that with images, and I haven't got any examples on here, but she has got videos of it as well. And also she can keep a record of her achievements. So everything sort of come to a stop in February, but anything from then, she was able to write if she got a progress award or if she represented a house in a house challenge. She's been able to have that ongoing record of her life at school, really. And this has been something that in the past we have then passed on to senior schools as they go on, so that they can keep that record of their work and the schools can see what they do. Also a great example of their tech skills. So yeah, and then other examples that we've got of using sites, I have seen it used for like book reports and passion projects. I've had children use it who do, we do Genius Hour, which they can produce a site through that. And then obviously, as Darren showed you all, other examples are with class websites as well, which is great for uploading photos and work by the children that then the parents can see. So I think that's all my examples of different using sites. I think James needs to unmute.
There we go. Oh my goodness. Well, Katie, what I was doing was thanking you for such a brilliant practical presentation of Google Sites. So thank you again. And to Darren as well for that really detailed deep dive into the tool itself. So thank you both. I think what we'll do now is we'll transition to our school speakers from the Bentley Federation and take a look at their own journey with Google Sites. And so we'll bring on Dawn and Darren to share their story. Dawn and Darren, you can take it away.
Thank you, James. It's lovely to be here today. Yeah, we started using Google in G Suite when back in 2016. So we were quite early adopters, I think, particularly in primary school. And we've had a lot of support. I just want to come back to what you mentioned earlier about there's a sort of a great offer of support on for UK schools at the moment through the Department of Education. I've never met such a great community, really. EdTech team have been brilliant, but it is an absolutely fantastic community. So I would encourage anybody to get involved and take that offer up. We've always been quite cautious, I suppose, as a school, really, in terms of what we've done. Because when you invest a lot of time and energy into putting EdTech in place, you want to make sure that it works. So it's been really important for us to get it right, and we've really not looked back. Could you pop the next slide on for me, please, James? Thank you. So we're just a couple of small primary schools in Walsall in the West Midlands. We actually have got a big children's centre as well, so we take babies from 6 months old right up to children age 11. We, as I say, began our journey in 2016. It was adopted very quickly by all of the staff, and we actually introduced Chromebooks in 2017 as a trial. We introduced it with our Year 6 children. There was an awful lot of jealousy with children lower down the school, so it was quite obvious that it was something that we were going to have to roll out through the whole school. And last year we went 1, 2, 2, so in every year group of 2 classes we've got a set of Chromebooks. And really, I think our vision is that technology should just be, a tool that you pick up and use whenever you need to use it. What I love to see is going into classrooms and the children sitting around tables, and Chromebooks are just in the middle of the table with whiteboards, textbooks, crayons, everything that they need, and they just dip into it and use it when they actually need to. And that really, in the last 12 months, has been happening. There's been a huge amount of staff adoption of all of the G Suite tools, and as I say, it really has become the glue that holds everything together. Just some simple examples really in terms of how it's been used. We used to have a school newsletter that the admin staff created and sent out every week, and staff had to email photographs and information to go into it. We created a Google slide deck, and actually now everybody contributes to that, and the newsletter has just come to life because of that, and it's so much easier. Another example, just since lockdown, we have a specialised deaf resource base. Not very many children, but obviously they've got additional needs in terms of signing. So being able to use Meet over the last few weeks has been absolutely invaluable, and teachers have been embedding that within classroom, and it really has been a lifesaver. So we're really pleased to be moving forward with it, and really grateful that we were in the position that we were in when obviously lockdown started. Could you click onto the next slide for me, please, James? So yeah, in terms of what we do, a lot of what we do is data driven. So we make sure that we are locked into the school's development plan. So we're meeting the needs that, we're following to, I suppose, meet the needs to Ofsted and what our targets are. And we use Google Forms a lot to receive data from children in terms of, what their needs are, and parents and staff as well. So that's really useful for us. Since distance learning started, we managed to grab a bit of feedback, and we're really, really pleased that there's over 60% of the children have engaged with any of our online services that we offer to them. That's huge for us because many of our children actually don't have access to devices at all, or they have to share amongst a family, so they might get access just for part of the time. And our site has had a good number of hits, and we're really pleased about that. And it means that as we move forward into the next half term, where we're still going to be doing a lot of distance learning, that actually it should help us a great deal. So really, I just wanted to just talk briefly about where we were at the start of lockdown. We sort of preempted, I suppose, lockdown when we started to see Europe starting to close its schools, and we put a site together very, very quickly. We already had school sites. We took the decision about 18 months ago, when our contracts ran out with our current website providers, that Darren would actually go ahead and design all of our federation and school and childcare sites. And it's been brilliant because they've been able to really meet the needs of our community. Everybody can update them and respond to them very, very quickly. And they've gone down very, very well with parents. It really has become a collaboration. Part of that has been teacher, I suppose, individual sites that the teachers maintain, and they've been able to be an extension of the classrooms in a sense that they have been quite individual. And a bit like Kate talked about the blogs, they meet the needs of that individual class and year group, so that's been very, very useful. I think that's it for me. I think I'm going to just hand over to Darren, if that's all right, because he's our guru that puts all of these things together.
Thank you, Dawn. If we pop on to the next slide for a second. Thank you. So if we go back, 8 weeks now, to just as we started lockdown, we decided we wanted to put a new site together that wasn't part of our main school site, sort of a sub-site that we would tell the children to go to find what they needed to do daily. Obviously, Google Sites was the easiest way to do this. And staff had already had training, so there wasn't much to put in place other than to build it, which, as we've seen from Darren's tutorial earlier, is very easy. We knew that we needed it to be child-friendly and easy to navigate around, so we quickly came to the conclusion that sort of tiles was the easiest way of doing that. So we actually used another Google app, Google Draw, to create these tiles to then put onto the website so they could be clicked on to get to the different areas. We wanted it to bring together all of the learning resources that the teachers were going to be creating in one place, and also act as a notice board so that we could put information on easily. I didn't know about the announcement banner, so thank you, Darren, for that. I'll be using that straight away as soon as this is finished. If I just share my screen for a second, we'll have a look at what that looks like. So, as Dawn said, we moved over our school website to Google Sites possibly 18 months ago. And right at the top, we added a big banner where the children needed to click to get onto the online learning area. So that will take you to a page that looks like this. It was actually quite refreshing to see that other schools have done things very similar to us. And I think that's down to Google Sites being just so easy to use and naturally comes easy to navigate. Most of the schools that I've looked at have done similar things. So we started off with this online learning website. Ticker at the top to say what's happening most currently. We've got an area here to get to each of our school's class pages, which we'll come back to later. And then the tiles to take you to the online learning platforms that the children use. And then a Google form for resetting your password, which Dawn is very familiar with now. I think she's probably reset about 400 passwords so far. Yeah. We've got one of the librarians reading Harry Potter. We've got trusted news reports. And then right at the bottom, we've added links to lots of topics and subjects. And these will take you to a web page that, again, using tiles rather than text, outlines web pages that we think are important and useful for the children to be visiting whilst they're at home. So that was sort of the central hub, if you like, that we get to first. But then also the class teachers were maintaining their web pages as well. So if we pop on to the next slide. The one after this, sorry. Thank you. So this is the teacher websites that the teachers would maintain. And like I said earlier, they'd already had training on how to do this. So we're able to update class pages from home at the very short notice that we had. What we thought would be a better idea is, rather than the teachers logging into their websites daily and updating the content on the actual website, we created 3 Google slides and shared those publicly to the website. There was a maths Google slide, an English Google slide, and then a topic or everything else Google slide. So the teachers bookmarked those 3 slides and just updated the slides. So if they didn't want to log into the website and adjust that daily, they could just technically adapt those 3 Google slides. So if I share my screen again for a second, and then we go into the school class pages, what we did was added photos of the classrooms so the pupils would find it easier to navigate around. If we just nip into reception. So these are the sites that are maintained by the class teachers. We started initially with just links to the 3 Google slides that I mentioned earlier. So if you click on this one, let's hope it's been updated. It should be the work that the teachers set they would go for today, and that's using a Google slide. So that can be updated without having to log into the website. And then the teachers add a new slide every day to the top of that deck. So we've got the work that was set previously in a list. So it's all there right from the start of lockdown. It didn't take long for the teachers to want to start adding other things to the website. So things like embedding videos, or perhaps adding documents to the website that they'd not done before, keeping in mind that they need to be made public to be viewed externally and things like that. So that brings us on to actually the next slide, if we look at that first. There we go. Which is where we started to introduce some staff support. So right at the beginning, when we added the school website, when we made the school website into a Google Sites website, we started off with this Office intranet site at the top. So rather than having to give admin staff access to the actual website, they only needed access to this sort of page where they could open up those folders, drop documents and files in, and they would automatically make their way over to the website. We then sort of made pupil dashboards. So when the pupils were logged into their Chromebooks or Chrome browsers at home, the home page would be one that we designed with tiles that took us to links like we saw earlier from Katie. But then we also moved on and did staff versions of that. So staff homepages and pupil homepages are all set using this sort of dashboard format. And then again, we did a how do I area, like we saw with Katie, which can be updated easily with videos and things like that if staff needed extra support, if it was something that they'd not done before lockdown. It just made it easier for us to be able to offer that to support to staff without us actually being there. So I think that's about all there is for me to look at. Very similar to Katie's, I think, but interesting that we've not seen each other's sites and the way we do it, but they are very similar to one another's.
Thanks, Darren.
Thank you guys both. Just amazing use cases. And to me, Sites is so brilliant because it's so flexible. And you guys have absolutely illustrated that. So what I think we'll do is we'll move on to the Q&A. I know that there's some on the webinar eager to ask some questions. So I suppose what we'll do first is we'll see if there are any questions that come in via the YouTube chat. There might be just a little bit of a delay. So I will ask a question in the meantime. If you had to choose one Google Sites feature that you couldn't live without, what would it be?
Okay, I'll go first. I think for me, it's the ease drag and drop tools, like how quickly you can make a website. I think that's the thing I couldn't live without. That's so much faster than any other website building tool.
Yeah, I agree. We had pretty much 3 days to put the the online learning platform together before lockdown. And also, it's important to mention how seamlessly it links with the other Google applications. So taking things from your drive to the website is literally just a few clicks.
I think embedding YouTube and being able to search for videos to put in for quick links and resources is absolutely fantastic. It's and any sort of video content really I've found really useful during lockdown.
Oh, two of mine got taken there. I'd say the way that it's all like it's in blocks. I really like how it's in blocks and that you can move things around, and when it comes up with the guidelines, so you know if you've got something in the middle or where you want it. I like that.
Amazing. Great. Well, thanks for that. I'm not seeing any other questions come through on the YouTube chat. So I'll ask you one final one, and then we'll leave that and have that lead us into the end of the webinar. So the other question is, if you were to recommend one form of a Google site, right? You've seen intranet, you've seen online learning sites, you've seen student portfolios. There's been a number of different use cases shared. If you were to recommend one school or one particular type of site for a school to develop if they're just brand new to G Suite and to Google Sites, what would you say has had the most impact, or what would you recommend that school focus on first?
I think a nice idea is to build perhaps something internal, one of the intranets, because you can test it internally without it being out there, pilot it, see how it works, and then move on to some external public stuff.
I think a nice idea is to start building some sites, probably to build on what Darren says, is that your first external sites, you can link them to your existing school sites, and that's the beauty of it. It's so integrated that you can link a site to an existing site, and that actually gives you as well quite granular level access to all of these in terms of editing. So if you don't want to go for your whole school website in the first instance, just link sub sites to it, and also works quite well.
I think if you're a teacher and you've got your class, I would just start with a class page and think about how you can give that information to your students in an interesting way, and how you can design those sites quite quickly. It's a nice alternative to Google Classroom, and certainly while we're remote at the moment, it gives you all that flexibility to have a really nicely designed site where the class can then navigate through that content, certainly sort of material-wise, to support their learning.
That's great.
Yeah, and then if you've got the teachers then doing it, then you can get the children doing it as well, and then that's the student portfolio ones. If you get the children uploading those and creating those and keeping them, then you'll learn as well what you need to teach them to do. Yeah,
amazing. Great. Well, thank you guys for joining. Thank you for all of the fantastic use cases. And this will live on YouTube from here on out. And for those of you who want to share this webinar with colleagues, please know that you can access all of our recorded webinars just at the bit.ly link mentioned earlier for the GFE UK webinars. So thanks again to all of our presenters. We'll give you a big round of applause. We appreciate all the work that goes into presenting on a webinar like this. And we'll hope to see everyone very soon. And keep safe, everyone. Thanks.